Everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art sherpa, and today we're going to be painting the cherry bridge. I'm very excited about doing this. I love cherry trees. It's totally the time we get to paint them, though. In full candor, I might paint them all year. On the mic today is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
He's going to be tracking me with all the cameras, making sure you can see everything I'm doing so that as we go step by step and I explain the process and the techniques, you can create this for yourself at home. If you need the full material list, that's down there in the description, including a link to our website where there's more information about this project and more resources for you, including, of course, a traceable. Because here we don't think tracing is cheating at all. It's okay to transfer an image on your canvas if you're not ready to freehand or block one in. That's just a skill you learn over time. I'm super excited to get going today. So I'm wondering, can we just hop on in?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So I have this on the vertical for the wishes. And there's a wish for Lisa's mom to get well and be better and for there to be lots of support and healing all around her and her family. We have a wish for Sandra. For her daughter and her health and motivation to be going in the correct direction. And Kimberly has wishes for the high school seniors from Delphos, Ohio. Patricia wishes for her sister who's going through a hard time. So like just love and support and a relief from that hard time. Wishes for Barbara to be able to start school and to be in good health for that. And so she's enjoying school. And Lois has prayers for Officer Amy. And you know, who was lost in the line of duty. And Andrea prayers for her daughter who's going through her kitty crossing the Rainbow Bridge, which is just hard on everybody. So just general love, light, health, and well-being throughout the entire community. If you see this video, I'm wishing you well and health. This is an 11 by 14 canvas. Well, it's a canvas board, and I'm going to turn it on the horizontal because today's project is, of course, landscape. We do have picture-in-picture, so that you can follow along and see the project and see the process. I think the fun part of this, I've got this, there's this combo of hair and mic happening, so I don't know if I'm doing stuff to sound. So the steps, what I'll tell you right now, the steps are the interesting one. If you are on the website, there's a little kind of drawn out graph of steps so you can kind of understand how they're constructed and a little bit of how that perspective works, plus, you know, a practice your color mixing sheet and a step-by-step for brushwork. So this is brush, palette knife, and Q-tip, and a little teeny tiny bit of sponge. So that's a lot of tools to get it in, but they're all fun, and I think you're going to enjoy it. That's my feeling. Let's look at our background colors. I have acrylic paint here, and this particular set right now is phthalo blue, phthalo green, and titanium white. If you've been here for a while, I bet you can guess we're going to make some phthalo turquoise. I'm going to use my cranked artist knife. This is an elongated kind of trowel diamond head. You can use any one you have. You can use a brush. And I'm going to get out about 1 part blue and 1 part green. And I'm going to mix those together. And that's going to be my background aqua. Does that sound fun? I don't know if it does, but that's how we're going to get that color. I like to leave a little bit of green and blue out so I can change the colors in this, you know, the hues in this. And have little variances, right? Because that's how we're going to get all those little depths. But once I've thoroughly mixed that, see, I love to smush, smush, smush. Smushing it up, scrape and smush, scrape and smush. And then I'm going to wipe it off. Of course, cleanup's really easy. You're just going to wipe this off with our little towel here. Now, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is just brush on, actually, the first layer. And I'm going to use a light mister. And I'm going to mist this canvas board. This is not necessary as a step in art for all paintings everywhere, but this is going to let us kind of take our watercolor words and blend them in, as you can see. It also is going to help me get the white paint on a little bit easier. So first I'm going to take this brush. This is a number 26 bright. It's short-handled. I'm going to load it. Look, I'm pulling the load. I flip it over. It is the pulling out. This is called a runway. Pulling this out into the brush and flipping that really loads it, gets a lot of paint into it. So I can paint a lot of canvas with one loaded brush. And I'm just going right over this. This is going to help me start my painting. Sometimes canvases resist paint. It's kind of funny. It's a new thing that's happening.
Well, can I ask you about that?
Yes.
So, it was Cassandra, I think, was
Hi,
asking,
Cassandra.
do you sandpaper your canvas boards?
Okay, so these, if I was doing a fine art piece, I'd actually probably buy a whole different board. But you can sand your boards to prep them. You can gesso them to prep them. There is a ton that you can do to make the surfaces better. There are kinds that you can pre-buy. Canvases are supposed to come, unless they're denoted as being raw canvas, they should come treated with a primed gesso coat, right? So that you can start painting on the surface.
Right.
But issues with shipping and keeping things from molding and storage, they're starting to use coatings and treatments that quite honestly resist paint. It's kind of funny, but it's a real thing that's happening. So if you're like, it's like this canvas has a force field that will take no paint, you're not crazy. It happened.
Yep.
It's happened to me. So now I have these weird little sets of tricks and things because this is an economy canvas that comes in a pack. When I mist it and I prime it with that white, it helps resolve some of those problems for me. But it can get worse than this, and those I would absolutely gesso over. And remember, anytime you're sanding any art materials, wear a dust mask. You don't want any of that in your lungs. All right, so here we go. We have that canvas white primed. And I'm going to just load at the edge of my little bristles here. You can see this, my turquoise. And I'm going to still add some more white because I need my background color to not be very dark. I want a little room to darken it and lighten it on both ends so that I can create all those wonderful variances. So that's about the range of color that I'm going to want to start with right here. Now, depending on how you mix your phthalo turquoise, right, you might be a little more blue or green, and that's okay. You haven't hurt anything. Dipping in my cup, dragging off the extra water, loading up a little bit on the edge of my brush. Again, coming and getting white. I think it's fun to mix color. Take a minute and enjoy the fun of mixing it. It's a good experience. And if you find you're having trouble getting it off the brush, like you can see, I just dipped and primed in a little bit of water there. You could use medium if you wanted to. Some artists are very particular about this and they will only use medium. I'm going to, it's really dry in my art room as well. So that little active misting and priming helps me a lot. Once my first coat of acrylic is on, it's never quite as challenging. It's just so at the beginning. But I just want to make sure that I've got this base coat of my aqua going. See, I'm flipping, pulling out and flipping, getting into the white, breathing. And then you know what I get to do, John, when I get this whole canvas painted turquoise?
What's that?
I get to sip my coffee. And that is my reward for doing a good job. So, like, yeah, you'll see sometimes, like, it's like the canvas pops little holes and things. And there's a lot of fixes, gessoing, sanding, and again, this weird little thing that I'm doing here. Make sure that if you're using Flow Aid by Golden or any of those Flow Aids, that's the water conditioner that breaks down surface tension, that you do not put that in a spray bottle of any kind.
Right.
That would not be safe. Fine in your cup. Not great for fish, but fine. Like, just don't drink it and you're okay, but you don't want to get it in the air. Just a thing you might not know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For safety, because we want y'all to be okay.
Yeah. So you just sort of put a nice even coating here on the background.
Yes. The background coat, which I like very much. I don't know. I'm having fun today.
I am
out
too.
My brush. I love days when we get to combine up a lot of materials.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite. This is a good time to take a deep breath. Let it out as you're painting it in. And I want to challenge you in this painting to be compassionate in the way you dialogue to yourself as you're painting, right? Be encouraging to yourself. Be a cheerleader. Say nice things. It'll really help your results. Because it's real easy to get in that space where you're like criticizing every little brush stroke and everything you do. So be sure that you're breathing in, releasing whatever tension you're carrying, and on using really nice words when you're describing your artwork to yourself. Like, so instead of saying like, oh, that's crazy messy, you could be like, that's so expressive, free, and brave. Just like frame a little kinder. I'm going to dry this with a hairdryer.
Well, before you dry that with the hairdryer, everyone's really interested. That shirt you're wearing, they haven't seen in a little while. That's the Sherpa shirt. But that's one of the it's one of our shirts that we had from the old store.
Girl power. Sherpa
you can
power.
do it.
It says Sherpa, but it's really guys or girls can be Sherpettes.
No, we may have some of that coming back in the future, but
yes, we're working that out.
But
lots to do though.
That's to be continued at some other time.
Finish the studio.
Yeah, we have other things, but it's
so
coming
much
soon.
Gluing.
Yeah.
Paper making.
It's been fun.
I don't know. I gotta have John capture what's
lights.
happening to me with the paper flowers. It's gonna be.
Actually, I've been really enjoying this stuff. We've been having some good time in the studio. All right, so you got to dry this thing. I
gotta dry this thing. John's gonna talk to you about St. Jude.
Oh, that's right. I'll put this up here while we're talking about that.
I forgot my graphic, but if you're not aware, we have hit our halfway mark.
There it is, right there.
Which means I have to paint a Bob Ross video in oils. And if you've been watching the watch parties, that's definitely the theme on Facebook. So I have to do that. And John's got to do an ATC.
I do.
And then next, we get to the next goal. I have to show you my school and college art.
Whoa. Where'd you go? Okay. All right. So while she's doing that, I'll say a couple quick things of note. If you are drying your canvas or palette or board or whatever it is you're painting on at home, you're using acrylic paint, be sure to use the lowest heat setting on your hairdryer there, because the heat really isn't very good for the paint. On your pro paints, they're going to be more resilient to this, but heat can induce color shift, shrinkage, some things that you won't necessarily want. And if you just use the air that comes out of there, that'll accelerate the curing and do a great job. So the other thing to remember is that we're here raising all this stuff for St. Jude and St. Jude's Hospital. We really appreciate you guys coming in and helping us raise all these funds for them, because everything that the doctors at St. Jude do, all the research that they do, is shared with doctors all around the world. It's all made open source. So when you help support St. Jude, you're really helping to support the doctors all around the world who are helping kids. And I mean, I really mean it, because that's their mission, is how to change the world through that medical treatment, and they're doing a fantastic job. So that's why we're here supporting them.
Cures for kids help grown-ups too.
Oh yeah.
Treatments, cures, they help the whole world, and I am ready in my lifetime. It's my personal wish to just see cancer be done. I'm so sick of it. Every week I hear about something where somebody who should not be impacted by this illness is. It's just my least favorite. Don't like it at all, and I'm ready to see it gone, eradicated from the earth, just gone. So I believe St. Jude is the best chance for that, for all of us. It's my feeling.
We love them. So, well, we're gonna get back to
my punch cancer in the face stance.
I want to say that the community says you looking pretty sharp today. So
thank you.
Just passing that along before we get back into it. All right.
So you guys have a traceable, which was really interesting to create, because the idea was how do I give you the information that you need, but not cover it up with trees and things. I'm going to show you how to sketch this in if you're ready to block it in. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to come to each side just a smidge below my halfway mark. This is kids chalk that I have in my hand that I've sharpened in a pencil sharpener. If you're wondering what I've got going on. And what I'm going to try to do is sketch a mild slope. If your slope gets too big, your railing's going to be up here. And I'm going to just sketch a very, very mild little slope. So there we go. Nice little sketch, mild slope. Now over here, I know I've got kind of a little stairway coming down, so I'm going to remind myself that that's there by making this little line. Under the bridge, all right, and we need some space for there to be stonework. We've got this little kind of oval opening, almost. There we go. there's a little railing. And the trick about the railing, guys, is try to make sure that it's parallel. And then, of course, we have some little trees and some stuff. So the first step of what we're going to do is we're going to block in. And that's just a fun way of saying kind of map out, create fields or zones within the canvas using color. Our deep color for the bridge so we can have a lot of fun with our palette knife work. And also we're going to brush in some light and distant faraway trees. And to do that, I'm going to add some black to my palette. Boom, boom, which is not the purple. It's like with Doc's purple and Mars black, you really need to read the tubes.
Right.
Because like by sight, I mean, Diox is almost a chromatic black.
Yeah.
In my opinion. In my opinion, I think it's almost a chromatic black. I'm going to mist this so it doesn't dry out on me. And I've got this wonderful thing here, but I'll go ahead and take advantage of mixing my palette knife being here. My artist knife, actually. This is technically an artist knife. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add my wonderful turquoise into this black that we have. Oh, that's fun. And so I've that mix. So that's the turquoise with the black. I still have my blue, my green, my black, my white. So I've got lots of room. I'm going to clean this off. And I'm going to use just a bright I'm comfortable with to paint in the trees, right? And then the bridge. And I think because it's going to be doing a bunch of different things, what I'm going to grab, is this an 8? Yes, this is a number 8. You could do a 6 or 4, but I'm going to grab a number 8 bright. This is a Ruby Satin. I'm going to dip this in my water so it's a little bit primed. I'm going to take a little of this color towards my white. And I'm going to mix. Oh, see, that's still not black enough. So I'm going to grab a little more. See how I'm making it a little gray? There we go. That is getting the direction I want it to go. You can still take a little more of the turquoise pigment into it. The reason we're doing it with the turquoise is that trees that are distant and in a misty forest, they will kind of almost blend into or sink into the sky. I don't know if you guys have ever observed this. But that is like a thing that they do. So I'm going to come about, right about here, above my little bridge. I've got my brush comfortably in my hand, the edges of the bristles to the canvas. It's on a vertical positioning.
Ugh.
I'm pressing in. And without pushing hard, I'm going to just make a nice little line that wanders up. See, that's not hard. You make a line from here to here, right? You're not even painting a tree. Don't even put that in your head. Now I'm going to brush up. I'm going to brush up a little bit this way. You're going to notice that it is wider at the bottom and narrower at the top. And here's a fun thing. I don't need to do every tree because we have so many cherry blossoms, but I'm going to give myself a little branch coming over here. It was just a strike over to the side. I'm going to dip in my water so the flow is nice. I'm coming over here, and then maybe I'm going to, there's another little branch. I don't have to say too much. Don't say too much. Just a couple little here. They're going to be behind so much stuff. You don't even need to worry. Now, I'm going to get a little more white into this mix. And I'm going to maybe come right here and put this in. And this is like a little V tree. You ever seen those? They kind of differentiate from the ground coming up. I was actually just talking today about how like I tend to do my, overall, I would say much more consistently, my branches and my tree from much further up the trunk. But I'm going to give myself another little value here. I may come back and put my little dark tree in because the dark tree has to be in front. But I feel like this is some nice little distant trees. So let's get back into our dark tree because we don't want him to be like, I'm too much on my own. So I'm just going to go back over him real quick. And you'll notice the act of crossing these lines in front of the other ones helps push those other lines into the distance. And that's just all you've got to do for that. So now that brings that tree forward. I'm going to rinse out a bit.
That atmospheric perspective.
Atmospheric perspective. So much fun. Okay. I don't know why that was that exciting to me.
I think
I'm going to add
anytime.
a little of my phthalo blue to this turquoise and black mix. And then what? Another black? Yeah, I'm making a dark color, but it's not just a pure black. There's a lot happening in that color. I'm going to thin it and get it where it's nice and brushable. And I'm going to just paint this whole area.
Oh. Anytime you can break art material down into an acapella.
That's right. Anytime.
That's, you know.
You have one. Now you'll notice like when I'm coming around here, I'm going to brush kind of like in the direction of the curved line. That's kind of like an implied line that I'm making. And when I do that, that helps enforce the shape and structure of the objects on my canvas. Nope. Dipping in my water, mixing that in. I'm just improving the flow because the spice must flow. Kind of brush along this edge. And you can see I'm getting a nice edge because I've got this beautiful edge brush. It's loaded really well. The paint's flowing out of it. And so what I can do when I have that is come along my little line here and hopefully build a somewhat structurally sound bridge. Not that structurally sound. I'll tell you right now, I definitely wasn't going to switch into architecture. That wasn't happening under any circumstances. So I'm just bringing this around. I'm going to be coming back and adjusting these values, but I just need to get this blocked in at first. Got to talk about it. What's happening here? And come here. And then once it's all blocked in, I can use my palette knife to create some wonderful stony textures. And don't worry, if you make a boo-boo in here, don't worry, because we're going to come back and highlight in that tunnel. So you're going to be fine. Just be like, I'm going to be fine. I got this. I got my friends. Everybody's here in the chat encouraging me. And I know I can do this. And you can. Don't worry about making too much stuff back here, because there's a lot of cherry blossoms that are coming for you to be on your canvas. Oh, it's that kind of a day, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's a good day.
Well, yeah, it's a good day. I just wish that everybody gets some good news soon. Good news in their lives. So, again, there's a lot of, just coming through here and evaluating and, being sure that everything is okay. And the next thing that I want to do now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you a tip. If you have it, if you don't have it, that's okay. If you just have a round brush, you're going to need to, for the next part, get your smallest brush that you have probably, unless you have like tiny details like me. I'm going to use a number 2 bright. So you can see it's a lot smaller, right? And that's going to help me get the detail on my little bridge space. So, the black and the blue and some white here now maybe. And let's come at the top very carefully. But remember, don't get too into the detail over here. You really only have to be focused here. I'm just making sure I've got a little railing. Safety first at the park, right?
This is an interesting question.
I have an interesting answer.
I don't think I've seen this one before.
Uh-oh. Oh boy, is it gonna be some like really obscure art history question?
No, it's kind of a weird question though. I've never seen it before. So Carla was asking. She works with water mixable oils.
Yes.
Can she combine those with acrylics?
Okay, so this is really interesting because I had that same question because at NAMTA I'm painting this big painting, and I didn't have any golden glazing liquid, and somebody came by and left me water mixable oils, but I couldn't get anyone to verify it with me that they would work on acrylic, and I forgot to do the research on that. I was going to like actually check that out. I believe my current answer is no, because I believe even though they're water mixable, they're not an acrylic base. I believe they're an oil base, and you cannot mix oils into acrylics.
Yeah, I believe.
But I have not talked to the chemist to verify it. But that is my belief, looking at what's in them.
Yeah.
And then what's in acrylic, they're not acrylic based.
What's the lake? What's the carrier of the paint? And
yeah.
There's some chemistry there, so we don't.
There really is. And so what I'm going to say is don't. But here's how you can. Wait. An even more accurate answer would be, you can paint water mixable oils or oils over acrylic. So say you start your whole painting in acrylic, but you want to finish it out oil, you can always do that. You just cannot start an oil painting and then finish it out acrylic.
Good to know.
That cannot happen. So it's the fat over lean rule.
Interesting.
But you can't put fat over lean. You can do lean over fat, not fat over lean.
Huh.
It's a rule that people are actively trying to break right now. I wish them luck. All right. So on my little bridge, I'm going to try to do these little things, at little segments apart. And actually, I have an idea. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I have an idea on how I can kind of cheat at that. If you have a bright like this, a number 2 bright, there's a thing that you can do. If you don't, you'll have to be very measured, or you can use a measuring tape. But I had this epiphany earlier today, which is why I almost forgot that I had it. I'm going to mix a very light sky color, right? The background. It's super light, so it's going to show up a little bit against the background. And I'm going to come right here to the center, and I'm going to go down, down, down. See what I'm doing? Leaving just a hair, and the brush is making the width. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So what this is going to do for me is help me have a fairly even spacing on those bars. I'm not going to go over the trees with this because they would still be showing up, and then it would be like a gray thing. But I'm just trying to, in the focus of my painting, before I start making my lines, give myself this added guide. Sometimes there's little weird hacks and helps in our own tools that can get us through hard stuff in a painting really easily. Back into my mix now that I've got my little pile. Load it all up again. And let's use those lines now to help space in. Look at that. See, I'm on the edge of the brush. I'm using those little lines that I made. And of course, like once I get past it, it's a little bit easier, right? I don't need to go too far because we've got a bunch of cherry trees, but are you guys seeing that? So I use the width of my brush and a close to the sky color to help me with something see, there I went. Because sometimes I can have trouble with spacing. Smooth the top so we don't have any cross lines. Make sure our bottom is good. That's pretty good, isn't it? Now we're going to have lots of cherry trees, so I'm going to go back, but they're going to cover. So now I have that like crazy top in, and then I've got to figure out like so say this is the focus, maybe I could put a ball here and then go 1, 2, 3, a ball there, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No, I mean, it's what you gotta do. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. This is why I'm not an architect, because that's how I build a building. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, guys. 1, 2, 3. I don't have to be perfect. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just trying to space it. 1, 2, 3, as well as I can. 1, 2, 3, without making something crazy. So now I got those little kind of safety rails. They're in the distance, but they're up there. They're super happy. I'm going to do just a little bit of brush work here to get some form and shape, and then I'm going to come make it look all rockety rocks with the hard edges that a palette knife can give us. If you don't have a palette knife, just do the next part. When I go to palette knife with the brushwork, there's a step-by-step infographic that was done just brush, so you could see what that would look like. Yeah. Is that helpful?
I like having them.
Okay. So next part, I've got some lights and some darks. I've got some stuff in my little tunnel that I want to talk about. And to do that, I'm going to get right into my turquoise and get that all in my brush. You can see I'm working that into my brush and come over to my white. There is in the tunnel, right, this sort of like area of much brighter light. And so I want to make sure that I've got that represented right here. Now I'm leaving a little room here. Just going to make sure it just needs to be noticeably lighter, guys. Dipping in. You could do this all knife if that was your preference, but I like to be able to mix those up like you do. And then use the knives sometimes to just create a finishing feeling about something. So I've got this here, it's much lighter. And once I have the much lighter area, then I can come back with my turquoise, right? And then come on this side and make a much, there we go. Little bit of that atmospheric perspective that one likes in a painting. Don't we like atmospheric perspective? I certainly like that perspective where I don't have to draw lines. Regular perspective, hard. Actually not. I'm just not meticulous is my issue with those things. It's about a, I'm going to brush back and forth. Can you guys see I'm doing that? And I might even just brush a little bit up the sides just to show that there's a little blend here. So now right around here, I need to come and I'm going to get a little of my blue into that black like I had it. The bridge is going to go a little more into that phthalo blue. I'm going to get some white, and we're going to be working on getting different values of this mixture, which is the turquoise, a little black, a little blue, and white. And your worksheet actually has some scales that you can try to match where you're like 1 through 10 values. And if you can do that with this, you're totally on point. So you can do that, and you can also just match color. Depends on where you're at with what you're doing. All right, so I'm going to come right here. And I'm going to, I need a little darker than that. There we go. It's interesting always finding these. And come here. There we go. Up the top. I need more water, I'll get it. So there's a nice blend. Isn't that nice? There we go. Just take that down. Bring a little bit up, trying to show that shape, right? And it's about getting that subtle blend between these two spaces. And if you need to, you can always come back. I got some wet. I get some of my white and that blue. And I'm going to come between the two of these and try to soften that line. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So on this, I want some soft lines. I'm going to wipe off my brush. And look, softening it. So we see that it's there. But we've softened it a little bit. So we've got a little bit. Let's check that. All right. So can you see that little keyhole of light? I'm going to take just a little bit more white. And just right here, I'm going to make sure that there's an exaggeration of that. Can you guys see how I'm doing that?
Oh, yeah.
That is a really nice thing that you can do. Don't take it everywhere. And you can even kind of come with that down the center. It's super fun. Now, stairs and the blocks that we're going to have to do. And I'm going to give myself a brush guide of marks before I get my knife out to finish the bridge. And the reason is that the perspective of the stairs. So what I want you to think about is the stairs, they do something. They kind of go up, they bank a turn, and they go up. So we have some stairs that are in a curved perspective. Whenever stairs are in a curved perspective, one side of the stair is pinched and the back side of the stairs is whiter, and that gives us that vanishing point of line that we need to see with our eyes to believe we've got stairs. There's this weird thing where like the less we do, the better off we are. And then as they go up, you're going to see less of the top of the stair and more of the bottom of the stair, right? So let's go first with, let's give ourselves the top of the stair. I'm going to mix a fairly light color. I'm going to do it with my, my background color that I've got going here. And I need to just be able to see it against the thing. And I'm freehanding it. Maybe I should give myself some chalk lines to start with. You can always use chalk if you're worried about like, how am I gonna talk about something? One thing that I might do for myself, right, is talk about the curve. I've got a curve and then it goes like this almost, see? And then the stairs go like this. So once I know that, then I'm gonna say, all right, I need a little stair, maybe here. That's a lot of stair, but I may be able to thin it down. And then you can have like a little, maybe like a little friend, and then come down, get wider, and maybe this can widen out. See how I'm widening the line at the back? I don't have to take these all the way to the edge. I got a lot of flowers happening. Come down like a little tiny bit. As I'm going down to, the other thing that I will do is I will maybe widen those distances and change that type of perspective too. So I'm going to go ahead and widen that line out. I'm going to come back with my palette knife. This is just me making sure that before I get into that, I have a plan, some kind of plan. Now, right around here, I'm going to definitely kind of widen this space. And you can see I angled my line in a bit. You guys see that? That's on your traceable. Definitely look at that. You can see the implied angles. They don't have to be perfect, though. And sometimes, if they're loose, it can be in your favor. Oops, that went a little crazy way. I got to fix it. So as I'm coming down here, I'm just, again, trying to guide myself. Right? Maybe there's like one here and coming off the side, and, I've got some lights and some darks. I kind of know where things are. If I need to correct any of my guides, here's what I can do. I can come back with my blue and my black, making a very dark color. And look, I can make that thinner. And I can make those darker.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself already starts to block out our stairs, doesn't it?
Really does.
It's, well, I took that in too much, so I'll have to fix that. I overbit that. So sometimes when you're taking a chomp out of something, you might do more than you meant. You can always come back and be like, no, man, like, be chill. I mean, yeah, be at an angle, but don't be crazy about any of it. Don't be crazy. Just freehanding it in. I have to tell you that freehanding in stairs is like, actually, in a sense, a pretty crazy thing to do, but look, stairs. So what it is okay, so the reason why this works on any level, right? Because you might be like, how did that hot mess when you back up turning the stairs? Your brain is a little pattern recognition machine. Its whole thing is to recognize a cheetah sitting out in the tall, dry grass. There's a lot of engineering in here to see cheetah, which means we see pattern. like that's like our whole thing. It's like why we could find shapes in the stars. Our mass amount of our brain is about seeing patterns. So when you see the stairs go like that, your brain goes, those are stairs. And it doesn't want to think about it anymore. It just wants to go label done. Artists take advantage of that as much as we can so that we can have a good time building complicated things like stairs. Let's use our palette knives, though, to make this all kind of stony.
Oh, yeah. Now, you were telling me, and I learned a lot. There's a palette knife and an artist knife and a crooked knife.
Well, this is a crank.
A crank.
And the reason they have this is so your finger doesn't drag through the paint.
Which I didn't
This
really...
is a diamond-headed trowel, because it looks like a trowel. If it's interesting, because sometimes there'll be a crank, but it'll still be called a pallet, and I think that has to do with the depth of the crank and the length of the blade. Also, it's there's disagreements about like what things are called, and like oftentimes people that make the material don't even know. So it's not always like in listings. But basically you want something like this that is going to keep your hands out. You can get this in stainless steel. You can get this in steel. I've seen them in wood. And of course, now in Sherpa red plastic. That was weird. Okay. I think because my stairs are my most challenging, I'm going to start with that. I'm going to bring out a little white. And I'm going to get just a smidge of that background. And I want to tone it, but I still need it to be quite light.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge, and we'll see. So let me talk to you about loading a bead. Let me scrape this off. So this is your knife. You're going to load on the side that you're going to be pulling your stroke. So if you're stroking to the left, you're going to load on the right.
We need a song for this.
We do. Like
if you're
super bad.
stroking to the left, you need
See how
to roll it
I
on the
scraped
right.
my palette? This is called pulling a bead. Pull a bead. Now up here, I don't want to do that much, so I'm just going to pretty much use this and kind of do it like tap. I'm at a 90-degree angle and I'm tapping. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
I'm just tapping. And then because there's a little more stair there, I can pull that down. And again, 90-degree angle. What's wonderful is because we pre-brushed it, look what's happening. Did you guys know that was going to happen? I did.
You did?
Yeah.
How do you know so much, Sherpa?
I had suspicions. So when you see the paint coming out from an object like this, let's call that breaking the paint. We're breaking the paint, aren't we? I'm going to move this up. John's going to come find me. If you lose your bead, scrape the palette. Hard, hard, hard.
Gotta find the bead.
And then grab another bead. Hopefully at the end of this, you still have stairs. It's nice to have them if you can. Well, now I do have stairs.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm going to wipe this off.
Yeah, I'm happy. I like them.
Right? It's fun stuff. I've got my little kind of background here. I'll get a little more of my blue into that. So it's a little more blue, a little black, and then just a smidge of my white. Still dark though. And actually, I'm going to load on my left side. See how I scrape back? That's how I get a load on the left. Because I'm going to stroke up.
Now, when you get that loaded up, I'm going to zoom in on it.
Okay. Here?
Yeah. So, all right. Hold on, wait. Go back right there to the hole. See, now you can describe it so I can see it there.
All right. So we've got this loaded on the left.
All right, where are you going? All right.
I'm going to come right here. I'm going to pull this up.
Oh, yeah. That
Pulling
totally, I can see that.
Pulling that up and pulling this out.
We should do this more later.
Okay, I'm going to flip this over because I'm still
Hold on,
left loading.
Wait, I got to get up here.
Break the
too
paint.
fast.
I have to do some adjustments around here, but this is just where I'm going to be starting, guys. And I'm going to blend this. See how I'm blending it? A lot of things. Sometimes people don't realize you can blend with a knife. Look. Blend, 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 blend. It's just about pressing it in and making like little circles. See how we're doing? You can use the tip. There's a lot of actual fine work that you can do. Let's get some more of this. I'm going to just also very lightly just scrape this around. I want this to stay dark. And if I do too thick, it won't dry in time for me to do the next technique. So I've got to be thinking about that, but I'm just creating that next layer. So it's a pretty thin application. I don't really need to worry about that much over there. Now, if I have an area where I know it's going to be a darker color, and I certainly have a bunch of those, I'm going to get my black and some of my blue. I can get some of my turquoise into it to make sure it's incorporated, but I want a dark, dark color, right? So along my stairs, see how it's loaded there on the right?
Hold on.
It's going to come right here.
I'm getting up there. Get there.
Let me show you the bead.
All right. Okay. Now, how much pressure are you using?
You use a very soft pressure. This is really about the angle and contact. So it's about a 90-degree angle. And look, I can use the tip, toe of my knife to kind of shape and go around. You can tap and soften if you need to. Get a
Now,
little more on there.
would you say that it's more about controlling the gap than it is about the pressure?
I would say for this, it's more about controlling what's in contact. So if very little of the knife is in contact, you get a thin line. As you angle the knife downward, more is in contact. If it's completely parallel to the canvas, then you're doing what's called a smear. It's actually called that. And you are then kind of spreading peanut butter on toast, kind of a technique. I'm taking the dark color down here, and maybe I'll try to get my little knife on its little toe, and I'll blend, 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 blend.
You're so fast.
I am a little fast, I know.
RoboCam's so slow.
RoboCam is so slow. Gonna just make sure that I've got the next little, I will be turning my canvas often.
Our 2 units were not fast.
Our 2 units were not fast. And I even using my knife, like I'm gonna scrape off to make sure I have this little edge here. And I can easily put it back. I'm just making sure that I've got curves. So remember that not just adding a turn paint, but scraping paint. Look at that. And
Didn't
that
that
kind
have
of like creates a blend. And so you actually have a lot more happening than you might think. And I'll come right over that little sort of blue I made earlier with this darker color. More parallel to the canvas. Look at me being more parallel to the canvas. Going to get some of that dark color. And see where we are here? It's a right hand load, so I can stroke to the left, right? Look at that. Let's pull some of this dark value here. Having some fun. And again, step by step, picture graph for those that want to do all brush. And if you're not liking it, you can be like, dude, I really want to switch to all brush. I do. So I'm going to put some light stones in. I'm going to brush in some more of my tunnel and then come back and finish it with a little knife. One thing I want to do before I get my stones in, I got to get a better edge up top. So I grab my black and my turquoise, and I'm going to get some more blue. Those dark colors, right? And I'm going to make sure from the top of my bridge that I've got a little bit of this coming down. You guys seeing this?
Yeah. Let me zoom in on that a bit more. So he's got a really crisp line there.
Yeah, and we're going to make sure that it stays a little bit crisp. But I'm not going to take it up into that top area.
It's hard to track that sometimes.
Yeah. Now I'm going to be coming down the steps, John.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to rinse out, and I'm going to wipe off, because I want to make sure my knife is clean and sharp and that paint is where I expect it to be. I'm going to get my blue into this. I've got my black. It's a fairly dark color, isn't it? Wipe off. And and then load a bead. There we go. I'm going to move this up. I'll be right here. I'm just adding a little bit of this dark value. Pulling it straight down. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Of my steps. Need more. I'm going to load a bead. Just making sure that I've got my strong, light, and dark perspectives. Now, tip. Take a minute, walk across the room, and assess. Speak compassionately to yourself, and just evaluate the values. Also, take a picture with your phone, right?
And microwave your coffee.
Microwave your coffee. Get a little snack. Rotate your shoulders. And as you're looking at the picture, remember that in your phone you can reverse it. Look at it reversed. Look at it in black and white. So that left brain thing that helps you see the stairs sometimes can blind you to stuff that's going on in your canvas. And your right brain's trying to talk to you, but it doesn't have as strong of a voice as your left brain. And then you start to feel some anxiety and then start to assume like there's something wrong with your art skills and you have a total panic meltdown, which is really what's happening is your left brain and your right brain are having a little difficulty communicating. By taking the picture and putting it into another context, you have a chance for your right brain to come in and say, hey, I'm not sure those lines are converging exactly where you thought they were, or some other little internal self-correction. And before cell phones, what artists used to do is we used to look at art in a mirror. That's just us trying to get out of our own head while still being in our head. It's an interesting dichotomy. I'm not saying that it's not, because it kind of is. Coffee, sippy, sippy. All right.
All right. We ready to go?
I'm ready. Are you ready, Freddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I'm so excited.
Oh, are you?
Because there's a Freddie Mercury movie coming.
This is exciting. I know. I saw that the other day.
You just said Ready Freddie. And I was like, oh yeah, I just saw that ad for that.
So I've mixed my dark color. I'm going to get some of my white because I need to make some of these little stones. I'm going to loosely mix these. And what I mean by loosely mix, see how this is slightly marbled? I don't want to take it too much past this because I'll lose some of the effect that will let me have stones.
Stay right there.
I was going to just let you do it at the... I don't know. Are they seeing it?
Well, I want them to be able to see the mixing.
Okay. Yeah. So see how that's like very marbly. The reason I like the marbliness is because when I have that, I'm going to come like right here and I'm going to pull down. I need to leave some space here and some space up top. So I'm going to try to make sure I keep a margin. I'm going to just pull down a little stone. Like you do. You need a little more white, get it? Because we're loosely mixing. So that's how you reincorporate a loosely mixed bit if you need some more color. I'm going to come next to this little fellow. And I'm going to kind of angle a little bit. But still leave a space between the two and make another little stone. See our little stone? I'm going to angle and make another little stone.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to angle. So fun. I'm going to angle.
I see them now.
Do you see them?
Yeah.
All right, let's make another little stone, right? So I'm going to come over here. Wait for John to catch up.
I'm here.
Another little stone.
Thank you though. Thank you for waiting. I'm trying to be there.
Stone.
Now,
Now, you can shape these with scraping, right? You can sit there and say, no, you need to be a little bit like this. You can come in and take the tip. And so you could be like, you know, I think this one should maybe have a bit of a foreshortened shape. And everything that we do about this shaping starts to talk about these being stones. It's so crazy. If I grab a little of my paint and I'm just on the tip, I can come right here and sort of even almost draw with it. See how we're doing? Making those stones. So some of it's blending, some of it's not. You can kind of imply that this one is there, but just lightly implied. Because we're going to have so much cherry. Now, the other thing that we're going to do to make these feel more like stones is we're going to get a little of our black and a little of our blue and make our very, very darkest mix, like you do.
now if you were doing this with a brush, you could just, same mixing techniques, you're just going to be brushing it on instead of using a palette knife.
Yeah. I'm going to make a little line, a darkened line between these that's defined.
Oh, yeah.
Oops, I went a little far. I'll show you how to fix that. It's okay if you go a little far, and you need to do that because we're going to be brushing out the bottom, remember? So then these lines can be there, but we'll brush out the bottom. So it's wet right now, so one of the things that you can do is clean brush. Before it dries, you can come, see how I wiggled that brush and pushed it up?
That was like a wiggly eraser.
This is done because my brush is fairly stiff. And I'm painting in there. I don't have to make it super duper duper perfect because I know I'm painting in here in like just a second, right? But since this isn't going to dry right away, I have a minute to work that out. Now, under my bridge, I have some interesting different shapes. I'm going to come back into my little white that I had earlier. And I can come here and make sure that, no, that's too light. That happens. Sometimes I get too light. There we go. I need some turquoise. And then some blue. And then some blue. There we go. There we go. All right. There we go. So sometimes you'll get a color and you'll be like, that isn't right. What am I doing? All right. I'm coming through here and I'm pulling this down. So this is a little more in shadow. Pull this here. And then you can kind of imply on the other side a little bit, even though it's going to be fairly much in cherry trees. It's still that little color implication will help you. And then some more white into that because we want to have that nice space between the tunnel and the highlight. So we'll make sure that that's brushed out. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
And it's going to be about balancing these two zones kind of out. So that's what I'm doing. So the middle zone, right, not quite as light.
Because
I'll pull that in.
It's the middle zone.
Yeah, it's like the light is almost like making some changes on its way down. I'm getting more of my blue. There's a tinge of black into it.
How do they say it in Texas? Fair to middling?
Fair to middling. So see, I've got these 3 zones of color. Three zones of color. Yay. And I'm going to come back with my bright turquoise. I'll make sure that that goes right up to the top of the bridge. There we go. And remember, you can absolutely come down your line. And then the other thing I can do is I can get just a little white mixed into this. Make a slightly lighter value that's going to come between the stones and the tunnel. I'm just brushing this around. And it's like a little bevel. A little bevel going on the bridge. We want it to feel like it's part of it, but it is a bevel. And to make that incorporate back into the bridge, I'm going to grab my knife. I'm going to get some of this and maybe a little bit of my other color. And I'm going to just make sure that I push this back. I'm tapping. And then it goes back kind of bridgy, doesn't it?
The underbridge.
Well, it's just this weird shaping that's going on. Once I have that, I can sit there and get some of my white. Right, we've got a little of our blue. A little of our blue. Mostly on my tip now. And then I'm going to come right in the middle. Let's just say that right here, maybe there's some light that's hitting. You guys see that light?
Yeah.
And there could be like a little light, maybe like right here, the edge. You can even put a little bit here. I'm going to wipe off. I'm going to get some of my darker value, which is, you know, the turquoise, a little blue, a little black. It's going to be our shadow. And let's make sure that there's some of that. It's kind of coming up. So sometimes, you know, when we're doing the palette knives, because it's such a different tool than our brush, we get frustrated and it feels a little intense, and you forget, like, oh, I can push this color. I can blend this out. I can, you know, see what's here, and see how I'm just applying that line. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to get a little of my turquoise and a lot of my white. And I'm going to come right here at the bottom, John. I'm going to make this nice little reflection. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
So now we have this sort of bridgey bridge. What's happening? It's kind of very cool. If you have any of your perspective be off, I see a couple of my places where my perspective got off when I knifed it in. What I can do is come back and easily correct before I move on, right? I can do that. And I can also do that with brush. So if you're just having challenge anywhere, don't feel like you can't fix what you've got.
Add more layers.
You can. You can add more layers. You can play with it. Again, you've got that stair graphic that you can be using, and that will really help you make the adjustments that you've got to make. So now I've got this tunnel, and I've got this thing. I really, really likes it. So now I get to do the fun part. For this part, I'm going to peel up my palette because I want you to see everything I'm doing. So don't lament the paint. It's okay. And I'm going to get out a couple of my colors. Now, the first color I'm going to get out, because there's a very deep color happening, I'm going to get a little of my dots out. And you could do this in knife, but I think with the resulting Q-tips, you're going to really, really like to do this with the sponge. I have a slightly damp craft sponge. You could use a house sponge, like a regular square cellulose sponge. And if it's not damp, I'm going to mist it again because it got dry in the studio. You just don't want it to be dripping. It needs to be damp, but not dripping. I'm going to take my magenta and see how I'm pulling it out. Let me get it right where you can see it. I put that in the wrong place, didn't I?
I can move the camera if you need me to.
It's okay. I'll just do this right now. And then I'm going to grab my purple. And this is going to be my dark, dark, dark color. This belongs around the corners. From here to about here at the outer edges, from here, and then a good bit down here. And I'm going to just make sure it's sort of solid. See that? And I'm just lightly pressing. Hard at the corner where I want it to be dark, but light where I know I'm going to be sort of creating a blend. If you need to move your canvas, definitely do that. And now you're kind of seeing why it was not a big deal to catch certain parts of the painting. Because you're going to be in here with this. Don't go out deep with your purple. Don't do it. Don't go out deep. I'm going to take some of that here. And then maybe a little bit here. Kind of into the bridge a bit. And then up the corner. And definitely strong right here. Right? Strong, strong, strong right here. Leaving the center. It's a nice little, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a little of my magenta on the other side of my sponge. And just make sure that there's a blending. See how we're blending?
Yeah.
When the Q-tips layer on that, you'll really like that effect. I feel. I hope so, because we did it. Just making sure that underneath what the dab is going to be, we've got a little bit of that darker color. Now make sure that you soak your sponge in water, wipe it out, whatever you've got to do. And the next thing I like to do is sit my coffee for the purples dry, because I'm going to be adding a little yellow, a smidge of yellow to this painting's quinacridone mix to make it warmer so it really pops. However, yellow and purple are contrasts, so that could gray it out and make it a misery. Simply drying really helps. I really appreciate everybody being here today. This is like, I know like how crazy it was with the panda, which is coming up Friday, and I'm so glad today worked because there was like a threat of a thunderstorm, and I was like, no more.
No, everybody's loving this. This has been really great.
It's fun for me. I enjoys it. All right, for the Q-tips.
For the Q-tips.
I have fluid paint.
Do you?
I do.
What makes it fluid?
Sometimes this kind of paint is referred to soft body, and sometimes it just comes, okay, so this is artist paint. It has tons and tons and tons and tons of pigment and high quality materials. But if you're talking about the viscosity, the body, same as craft paint. Not in quality, but body. See how that's all kind of like, you squeeze it and it comes out?
It's all fluidy.
Q-tips like that best. See if I've got enough opening left here. Yes, I do. I'm going to put out some white. And I'm going to grab, don't go anywhere. I'm going to grab from my little kit here that I forgot to bring over, a little of the yellow. Now listen, in the fine art paints, most of the folks that do a cadmium won't do a true cadmium in the fluids or the high flows, because airbrush artists keep putting in their stuff, and that is super bad for them. So as a safety issue, they're like, no, you just get hue. However, this is matched, this paint is matched to the cadmium. Doesn't have quite the same glow, but hue-wise is exactly the same. $1 less than the other kind. Okay. I'm going to draw my painting.
Okay. Okay, and I will say, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us today. You know, it's one of the things that I'm always in complete awe of is that you guys all come together and hang out with us for the purposes of painting and just hanging out together, and I love that. That's probably one of the most satisfying things that about this this work we get to do, and that's to get out here every day and see you guys and be able to hang out and just, you know, be part of this art community. So thank you guys for that from the bottom of my heart, and thank you all for helping support St. Jude. You know, we've got our banner up here at the top of the page. Every bit you guys do helps support them. Again, we just can't say how important it is, the work that St. Jude Hospital does for children. And, you know, those children grow up to be adults, and all of those cures that they work on for children, they apply to us as adults. So it's really amazing the work they do. And just want to say thank you to all those guys out there. And, oh, there she is.
There I am, getting my diamond-headed cranked palette knife. Okay. So I'm going to take a little of my yellow over to my quinacridone and just incorporate it thoroughly into the mix. This smidgingly little bits,
little bits,
takes it just a little bit more yellow, which kind of warms it up, which against the blue-green aqua background shall really pop. And yeah, you can use a palette knife for fluid paint. It's all good. I'm a wonderful artist. Say this with me. I'm a wonderful artist. Some of you rolled your eyes. I heard it. Don't roll your eyes. You are.
They squeak when you do
artist.
it. Huh? See, people who roll their eyes don't know this, but other people can hear them squeak.
Like Brax?
Yeah.
Squink, squink, squink. Okay. People laugh.
Squeak.
So first, I'm going to come and tap, tap, tap. See, I've got them bundled together. These are all level.
I miss
rubber
Zorax.
Banded with little rubber bands. These are the makeup kind of Q-tips. You could do Q-tip brand Q-tips. The real economy ones can get fuzzy, and if they're getting fuzzy, you have to stick the Q-tip in your mouth and twirl it in the direction the cotton is wound, and then let it dry. It's like spit sizing. So, if you want to do that, feel free. But the makeup solves it. I'm going to get just a smidge of white onto here. And then some more pink. I don't want a light one yet. I want that mid-range. See how that's kind of like a mid? Let's come here. And I'm gonna just lightly and randomly tap these around.
So if you're a space ghost, am I Zorak or Brax?
Zorak. Honey's Brax. Don't tell my daughter I said that. Okay, so I'm just still tapping. You can see I've just a little white to that mix, and it's just pop, pop, pop. See how it's going? We're going to just go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Making little marks. Now I want to make sure that there's a little sky patches here and there. So if I go too far, what will happen is that I'll lose those. I'm going to be a little bit solid. By bunching them, you do save yourself some time. I'm actually experimenting with other bunched things. What happens if I bunch my this or my that? Many interesting things happen when we bunch. So you can see mine are not hairing up very easily. And that's why. I haven't done the darkest yet because I want to kind of layer it on top like it is in the reference. So this is kind of the mid-range of the pink that you have. And as often as you need to, go into your white, come back over into your pink, and then by dabbing, make a wonderful mid-range mix. And then enjoy the tap. Now, I'm going to often bring little branches, little shapes that could come out, right? Because they're little shapes. And this is our chill time. If we had piano music, it'd be a perfect time to put it on. But we don't.
All of our kids are now on getting music lessons, so maybe you'll have a piano player live soon.
I'm gonna need one.
In like 5 years or 10 years.
It's an investment in our future. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be doing this for a minute because we've got to do this in our full kind of oval here as our frame and a little bit down the front. So we've got like about 3 to 5 minutes of this. We can take questions.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to do but dab. I think you guys get the point. It's dab-titious.
Oh, Cindy was like, how's the new studio coming along?
It's actually pretty good, Cindy.
I wish we could show more of it.
So, here's the deal. It's really close. We're trying to figure out if we can get it done all the way by a certain event.
Yes. And but what I was saying is that it's now down to
if you're in the Patreon, there'll probably be another picture thing coming through and some other stuff.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. I keep going in there. I slow us down because the light's better in there. And then I'm like, well, let's film this section in the good studio.
We keep using the studio in there for other things, so I can't build out like I'm finishing out some build out in there, but we keep using that space because it's really nice. So it's like, when you finally get that studio that you've been wanting and needing all along, it's like, oh my gosh, we can just make stuff in here. So yes, I'm sure I'm not helping you guys who are like, we want to see it. Well, just know that soon, yes, you will all, because we're using it. So you're going to see it.
Be sure to look for those emails in your junk mailbox. Be signed up on the website for your emails. Check your email.
Mm-hmm. That stuff's coming.
You've had one with some little tempting pictures, and more is on its way. I'm going to tab back here. So any other questions? Because I got to do this whole other side and through the center.
Oh, yes. Let me go back over here. There's more
questions.
Go
faster.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see me swirling. I'm swirling now. That's where I'm at on the mix. No, never mind. I swirl. Swirly whirl. Tap a little here.
You scroll up there. Now, there was a really There's a really couple of good questions that were earlier on. I'm trying. I don't want to scroll back up here. Part of it is I'm trying to not. I'm trying to man the cameras and read the
Oh,
questions.
do you
But
need me to let you find one and then go back to painting? I can do that.
oh no, it's okay.
Okay.
There was a question earlier, and it was from a little brush, and
I love questions for little brushes. Big brushes. I love questions.
and she was asking about how you found your inspiration. And I remember that being a really good question, but at the time I just couldn't catch it.
So for me,
And another one was how many hoots this was, and there were a couple.
I think it's a 2-hoot because we're introducing a palette knife, which is an unfamiliar. If you did it all brush, I would have put it at a 1-hoot.
Yeah.
I would have said, this is a 1-hoot if it was all brush. And it's 2-hoot. Inspiration. Where do I get my inspiration?
And I think there was also a question from. Oh,
I'm going to keep tapping
You
because
keep
that's what I'm
going.
supposed to do.
Oh yeah.
I was going to be like, I'll look into your eyes and answer, sweetie, but I think I need to keep tapping or we'll be here forever. My inspiration. So the first place I get it is you guys. I am in my Facebook group and on my Facebook page, because I have both a page and a group, several groups, but in the groups. And then I watch what you guys are excited about. I read your comments. I see what you're painting. You know, things that you guys will post in there and ask to paint, photographs that you'll share. And I get a sense of what's exciting to you because at the end of the day, these are your lessons, right? And you probably want them to be enjoyable and fun. So
yeah, and guys, when Cinnamon's on break and I'm in here telling you how much I really enjoy you guys being here and how fulfilling that is, I mean that because you guys, Cinnamon is constantly working on new ways of making it so it's easier for you guys to do this. And this is such our favorite thing to do.
Flipping my Q-tips over because they're just a little flat and they're not giving me the result I want.
Like all these pages you've made and put up on the resource on the pages. Oh,
I'm
check the
trying
link
to give you
in the
guys
description
more
below.
resources, more aids, more things to get you through. I call them art guides and practice pages.
They're on the page, link in the description down below. Go find them and use them. They're awesome.
You know, they're just little things to help you in those areas where maybe at this moment this is all pretty challenging. So I listen to you guys, and then the other thing is honestly TV, movies, culture, articles, news, trends, Pinterest. Not in the sense like I go on Pinterest and take somebody's painting and then paint it and pretend I did it. But I always get permission or license and we'll say if I'm directly inspired by somebody. Otherwise, it's just parallel thinking. So I go there and I see like what you guys may not yet know you're excited about, but would be if you knew about it. And so sometimes that'll give me an idea. I have relationships with a bunch of professional photographers, sometimes other artists and different people. And I try to think about what you would be excited about doing. So like cherry blossoms. It's spring. Everybody loves a cherry blossom. It's just fantastic. So having a few tutorials that give you guys some different ways to do this, that would be one thing that I would do. Sometimes it's a thing we call tent poles. If you're a virtual creator, and that would be like things like Christmas, Halloween, big movies. You know, so if I'm really excited about a big movie, I might put out a lesson about that. I try to think about the stories that you guys have in your lives. Like the parapositive painting was about having so many people message me and say, hey, there's just not artwork that I'm looking for about this, and I feel frustrated, and what can we do? So trying to design something there. And so I think it's very collaborative. We do a lot of polls too. Sometimes you guys are just like, I need to paint this. Like we got surfers and ballerinas coming up because it won a poll, so I'm working that out. Panda was just all me. I just needed like some cherry blossoms and a panda. Mostly because I saw that panda on this reference site that I get images from. And not Pixabay. It's not free on Pixabay. But sometimes it's next to the free images, which is, I think, confusing to people. So just like around, if I see something, I'm like, man, this would be cool if it was blah, blah, blah. So see, I'm taking these down into that little space where the tunnel is, just making sure that there's a little bit. Oh, I like that. Do we all like that?
I like it.
It's already kind of fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So now that I have that level of pink in, I'm going to come in and get a much lighter pink. So this time I'm working my white more. I'm going to come up to the center, babe. Yeah. And it's good for you guys to think, how are you guys getting your inspiration? What inspires you to pick a lesson, right? Because that's your inspiration. What about that lesson might be speaking to you? Because that'll tell you something about your own creative journey in your art world. Dun, 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 dun. I don't want this to be, I'm going to put some of the lighter color down here, but I don't want it to be, I want it to have a couple values, so I am thinking about what I would be doing. So hopefully that was a good answer, sweetie.
I think so. I think it's a great answer.
Well, you are very forgiving of me, which is important because we are married. So forgiving me is very helpful.
Well, I think that forgiveness is an important part of every relationship.
I agree.
You know.
And I know I depend on it with you.
Well, I know I do too.
I break a lot of stuff around the house. You guys have no idea how often I'm like, John, I broke it. What'd you do? I don't even know, dude. I don't even know. I looked at it and it just fell apart. I looked at it.
And it
just didn't like me. Has it out for me.
And I think a lot of times you're just there when it happens.
Yeah, I just have some really bad luck. I'm just standing near the dishwasher when it goes pump, pump, pump.
And it's oftentimes stuff, it's really funny because things will catastrophically break in such a way that it's super easy for me to fix it, but impossible for her to know how. And it'll always happen when I'm traveling.
Oh, yeah. That's where YouTube saved me.
Like learning where the breaker switch is on the bottom of your garbage disposal. Like, everyone's like, wait, there's a reset switch on the bottom of my garbage disposal? Yeah. There's also a little Allen wrench hole there so you can unbind it if stuff gets stuck in it. Stuff you don't necessarily know until you're faced with these kinds of problems.
But you're in your apartment going, what?
Something else that you guys have learned by watching the Art Sherpa show.
Totally.
So, yeah, YouTube.
Things you know now. You gotta know what you know when you know it. You gotta go what you go when you go it. I don't know, I'm making up a song because I'm painting.
It's because you want a live band.
No, I don't want to. You keep asking me if I want a live band, and I keep giving you the exact same answer. Where are they gonna fit? Are they a little teeny tiny band? Like a Dr. Pepper character? Is Little Red in our band? Because that's a little sweet. It's a little sweet.
What if I brought a little tiny band?
If you brought a little tiny band and a little singing horse, you'd be my favorite person who ever lived on planet Earth.
If we could have a singing horse in the show, I think everyone would tune in.
Yeah. Yeah, then we'd have 1 million subscribers to the horse show. Like all the times I'll see like a channel like and it's just like they just put up stuff and it's like a gazillion things and I'm thinking, if only I'd had a machine that crushes gummy bears. Like I was like clearly did not think of the easy way to YouTube.
Although
I don't want to do anything else on YouTube, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying when you see that you just think that guy saw a moment. This magic moment. All right, still going. I'm just catching little highlights as I can. I have a darker color I'm going to come back with, so I'm sort of excited about that, but we've got to balance these lights and shadows, making sure. Can you see how like I leave some shadow there?
Yeah. Now, there was a question earlier that I missed to get to too, and it was how do you create the hard edges but soft shadows? And I was like, it was a difficult one for me to totally understand.
A hard edge in acrylic is actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's just the natural temperament of the paint, right? So if I don't put a lot of water in something and it's dry brushed or it's brushed fairly lacking water or medium, it's going to exit my brush hard. It's going to exit my palette knife hard. If I'm doing a shadow, then I'm going to use glazing or blending methods to soften and blend that shadow out. So if I have a rock next to a shadow, that rock's all going to be using kind of a lot of dry paint methods, and the shadow's going to be using a lot of blending methods. That's how I would solve that problem.
Oh, nice.
But that may not be the only way to solve the problem.
In art, there are often many ways.
Often. Many ways.
There's many ways that you can groom a cat. You can groom your cat many different ways.
But in all of them, you are going to get scratched. You can't groom it in a way you are not injured. Because even if you burrito the cat will get you later. Cat remembers.
See, I was trying to turn a nice...
Your dog has moved on and is now just about getting that treat. Your cat is waiting for you to go to sleep. Know it like you've never known anything.
See, here I am trying to soften a turn of phrase.
Oh, are we?
Well, because there's, I don't want to say you skin a cat. You're going to groom your cat.
So, okay.
Because there's 100 ways of skinning a cat, but you're like, no, who skins cats?
No, that would
That's
be
dumb.
awful.
That would.
You would get kicked out of the group for that. Let me tell you right now. Of all the things I get rid of, like, I get kicked out of the group. Nothing happened. Skinning a cat for sure will do it.
Well, it's a turn of phrase, and so I just turned that phrase into groom a cat, because there's 100 ways of grooming a cat, because that's a much more nice civil way of saying something like that, I think. See? And we've just completely gone off the rails again. It's all my fault.
Well, it's because this tapping thing is a very time-intensive tapping thing, and so there's just a lot of that.
It gives us a lot of times to wander off subject.
But I love it, and it's like my favorite thing to do. There's another cherry tree and Q-tip I have with a waterfall. If you guys did not know, you might know. I should probably put it in the iCard. It also uses a palette knife, so all these techniques travel back and forth.
See, this is all sort of academic to me because I'm allergic to cats and wouldn't touch them in the first place.
You wouldn't. He's not even kidding you. I'm going to flare this little lower branch out a bit.
You know how cats get washed? A leash and a garden hose.
Again, he will get you. You have allergies. You don't know. I had cats. My cat used to wait till I was asleep and box me in the eyes. If
I'm just kidding. I've never, ever done that.
Box in the eyes. John would not.
I don't.
Very compassionate animals. Please don't write a whole thing about how
we have to give the disclaimers.
You're the saddest person that ever lived, and
no, what do you?
John's words and
what are you
John
using white
is
paint?
Not serious. He would never hurt a living being or animal.
Just to make sure, you're using white paint there?
I'm just using white paint and quinacridone magenta and a little cad yellow hue.
Okay, just making sure.
That's all we got going on here. Now, what I'm doing is, if you notice, like as I'm moving this out, the colors are getting lighter towards the center because that's where the light would be, right? We got sky showing through, but not so much that, the trees look unhealthy. Right? I just want some sky showing through. And I think I want to get much more into my white now, because now we're going to be doing the highlighted areas of the tree. See how we're coming with that? You can put it throughout like that. There's little bits, but you want to focus some to these edges. Focus some to the edges. That's what I like. That's what I like to do. I'm going to merge these together. I feel like there's this uniform thing happening, and I didn't want to play into it anymore. There can be a few that come back here. You just don't want too many. Every once in a while, evaluate and go, how's that highlight going?
How is that highlight going?
How is the highlights going, yo?
That sounds like a disco question. How's the highlights going, yo?
I like the highlights. I like to dibble with my Q-tip now. That's terrible. Why did I do that?
I
I don't
don't-
want thumbs down. Why do I do these things?
Because you want a live
They don't
band.
actually, by the way, if you're
Send me
very
a tail-
super
I'm gonna-
satisfied, thumbing me down doesn't really actually upset me that much.
I'm going to tease her about this forever.
That I like to Q-tip. I like to dibble. I don't know. I have to call it dibble because I can't say dab. Dabble, maybe? I like to dabble till the morning light. What are we doing there? Do we have highlights?
I like
feel like we do. I feel like there's so many highlights. I'm sorry. I came down on John. I'm going to come down here, babe.
Okay.
Here I go. I know they're Q-tips, but you're actually learning a lot about lighting a tree. Aren't you? Sneaking it in on you. Let's see how that's going. Oh, that's a nice lighting, isn't it? And so just every once in a while, you just stop and you evaluate and you go, did I catch it? Did I make the highlight the way I dreamed it should be? You'll notice when I push back into the trees, I open up how far apart I tap to. That helps me a lot. And that the brightest whites are in that bright stream of where the light would be, which is my favorite. Is it your favorite? I don't know. I hope so. Because I think this stuff is so fun, and I hope you think it's fun too. A little bit here, but not too much. Just around. It could come back a bit, but you got to be thoughtful about where it goes. I'm going to come over here, babe.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure that we remember before we jump off today is that we are supporting St. Jude's, right? We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, we are. All month.
All month. And right now, we've got the auction going for the painting from last year's St. Jude.
The big dragon that's in blacklight, the 16 by 20 dragon.
Yeah, the Azure Wing Repose.
And all the studies for the month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all those things are, but the auction is up, is going on right now. So if you were looking for that, remember all the proceeds, everything that we get from that's going straight to St. Jude.
Yeah.
All that's just going right to them. So we really appreciate everyone who's doing that. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that was going on, because last year they asked us what we were going to do with that painting, and we said we were going to definitely make sure that it was available for you guys for auction this year.
20 bunch of people have found it already.
Oh yeah, it's
There's only a few days left, and then there's a 16 by 20 there. We started that bid pretty low.
It's been.
And then if you're one of the big contributors, and we've had one so far, you can pick one of the studies in the order that you contributed, and there's a bunch.
Yes.
Because I do a lot of paintings to get to what I do.
And yes, man, we've been
There's like a grip of B. Just so you know, there's so many B. There's a bunch of this. So everything I do, there's like magic force. They're here.
Sometimes you're like, I have an idea, I'm going to go paint it, and there's one and done.
There's like one I didn't do a study, and you like came and contributed that much for St. Jude. I'm gonna paint the painting.
But I mean, like this month you have studies for everything.
And those of you are like, but you're so late with everything, and I'm like, I know, but I'm fixing that.
Look,
I'm getting caught up.
We're gonna be late, but when we get there, it's worth it.
He's like, no, it'll be worth. I'm like, I don't think anyone feels that way, John. And he's like, yeah, they do. All right, I'm getting back into my darker color. Just a smidge of white into this, right? Just so it's, it shows. But I want it to be dark. So see how we're quite dark. And now, because I liked this feeling that there was this deeper value that even pulled forward in front of and layered over. You can do it both ways. You can do it darkest to lightest, right? Again, in the brush one, it's simplified in that way, just in case you were doing it for like a homeschool or kids or very, very new painters. You might want to say, hey, how could I even do that a little bit? I don't know why this. Oh, is Spider's song that on the robot? Is that that the robot song? What robot song have I been listening to? And why did it trigger disco? I don't know what's happening.
That I said disco to you earlier, because I've been listening to funk and disco remixes
As you do.
as well
As you
as
always do. Let's be honest, y'all.
is there's probably a funk beat playing somewhere in my rotation. That's true.
There's definitely funk.
But yeah, I had a bunch of remixes going earlier.
It's like that thing you and I almost have in common, but not quite. Because like my funk was like Throco Cult. So different kind of funk.
Yeah.
So can you see how I pulled like that little shadow again in around, and then because of the layering of it, it like really is popping. I'm gonna come over here, done.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go like that. I'm gonna make sure that this has some of that at the bottom, very aggressively, like you would want. You know, just layering these little leaves as they would fall. Fall, 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 little leaves. Where do you fall, fall? Do you know where you're going? Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I've always been much more of a
Really like this one.
George Clinton.
Yes, you have. Didn't you meet somebody from there?
Oh yeah,
Still just doing this darker color, guys. That's why we're chatting. You're good though, right? You're good. You know you got this. Can you go tap, 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 tap? Yes, you can. You can tap, 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 tap. You can do this painting. Sorry, babe. You were saying about the George. I asked you a question and then I just randomly talked.
No, I know Ducky Simpson, who was played with Marley and a bunch of people from that kind of area. And I met Parliament Funkadelic just sort of in passing, and George Clinton when he played in San Francisco. I don't know. I mean, just sort of, I've got the chance to meet some of these folks that are really awesome, but I wouldn't, I'm not like friends with them or anything.
I'm just saying you met somebody.
Yeah.
I met Frank. I wouldn't call him a friend. I would say if he remembered me, it would definitely not be fondly. It'd be like, oh, that poor woman. So confused.
Although Ducky and I have talked about doing stuff on a couple occasions, and we may still do something. That's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Mm.
John and Ducky. I'm going to get that number 2 bright out again. And I'm going to get just a little of my yellow. Pick up a smidge of my quinacridone and my white. And I'm going to make sure that I don't know. I did it in the reference. I'm going to dap a little sunlight here and there. Just a few. All right. Sort of tapping and dappling. Tapping and dappling. All right. Like you might. Little sunlight at the corner of the stairs. It's not necessary, but if I have it in the reference, I try to make sure you get it in the final thing. If you don't like it, don't do it. I'm going to also take my brush and get my different little pinks. Right? And I'm going to make sure that in my tunnel, see how I'm also kind of mimicking that effect by tapping. I'm going to make sure that there's some petals that are coming up. I'm coming up. Right? Little petals coming up. Like you might have in your tunnel. I can even put them on the steps. You can just make sure that they have fallen, and that's where they are. Now I'm going to get just my very light color, but I haven't rinsed out my brush. It's going to be pretty pink. Make sure you've just got some.
No, there's a really good question here. I'd like to.
I've got time. That's good.
I'd like to throw out through this. So someone was asking if you only had one piece of advice to give.
Just one?
Yeah, and
you met me?
Yeah, that's what I would say is that if I had one piece of advice to give anybody,
one,
it would say ask more questions.
No, what's my one piece of advice? What are they asking specifically?
No, what if you had one piece of advice to give to an aspiring painter? What would it be? Ask more questions.
Paint more.
Paint more.
Paint every day. Paint as often as you can. Just yes to all the projects, all the techniques. Be in a mindset of yes. Around you, as you get community in your art, they're going to have all kinds of opinions about what is and isn't art. Listen to them. Just keep painting. Learn every technique that you can, every skill that you can. Take it in. Do it often. Do it every day. Don't even evaluate if it's good or not. Do it as often as you can. Because working artists work. That would be working artists work. Nothing you can do for your painting more than practice and repetition and continuing to take it on. If it scares you, do it. And then if you failed at it, do it 10 more times. Eventually, your brain's going to give up and just let you have it. Or at least that's what's worked for me. Just work my brain out where it's like, fine, will you show her where those lines converge so she'll stop painting this? But that's what you do. I'm sorry, that's my advice. John says ask questions.
Oh.
Was that mine or was that?
That was it. That was
oh, okay.
Oh,
was that your advice though? I didn't misquote you, did I?
Oh, no. I don't think there was any misadvising.
Okay. All right. So I'm just making sure that my steps have a couple little leaves too that are pink because, you know, they might. And now guess what? I can sign it.
Wow.
We've made it a cherry tree bridge.
You really did.
It wasn't even upsetting or hard or any of it, right? And if you're like, yes, it was, take a deep breath and evaluate if you're being hard on yourself. Because your goal for this painting is not to get in the Louvre. Your goal is to complete it and recognize that you layered paint. You build up concepts and ideas. You, on a two-dimensional plane, created a narrative about an entire world, a window into a perfect park. It's your only goal. Hopefully you also love the painting and y'all are going to share it in group with me and everything. I hope that too. But make sure that however you're evaluating your art, you are being very kind to yourself. I'm going to sign over here with my little detail brush. And then I'm going to tell you guys that you're wonderful, beautiful beings. You deserve happiness. You deserve safety, health, shelter, well-being. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And you know where I want to see you? At the easel really soon. Bye-bye.